Welcome back to the Psychic Soul Healer channel. My name is Laura. If you're new to the channel, anything that you need to know about the channel, you can find in the description box. And the reason why I start my, live streams off that way is because this is a soul healing channel, which means I look at the spiritual blocks, I look at the emotional wounds, I look at the karmic themes that play out within your life that keep you stuck in a limitation of yourself. One that usually keeps you in a place of disempowerment, a place of fear. So the situations would be relationships, obviously, right? Soulmates, twin flames, any soul family relationship will teach karmic lessons. Karmic lessons are not right or wrong, but we see them as wrong. The more painful the experience, a lot of times, the more the lesson. So, trauma bond relationships or past life relationships that keep us bound to a karmic theme, usually one where we lived in a past life. And that past life also continued into this life, into the families that we were born into. So it brings out our ancestral karma. Ancestral karma, we inherit 700 generations worth of ancestral karma, unless those karmic lessons are broken. See, karmic lessons play out within our behaviorisms, in our characters, as well as our habits, our conditions, our reflexes. They're karmic programs. So, karmic programs are a program that you were taught at a very young age, but also, again, you incarnated with that karmic program from a past life into this life. That's why you were born into certain families and you get certain karmic lessons. The reason why I do a whole spiel on this before I do my readings a lot of times is because am I going to look and see how your person feels about you? Yes. And is that important? It's important to the ego, but is it really important to spirit? Now, spirit is the universe and universal laws, and laws play out as lessons. That you get these laws within lessons. And karmically is whether you learn the lesson. So a lot of times, predictions will keep you stuck also in a place of limitation. So there's many different experiences that play out at one time. Your level of consciousness will determine how you deal with a karmic situation. So I will look and see what your person feels because that's a need, as I just said. And that means what they're going to do. But I'd like to look to really see what is the karmic lesson. What are the karmic lessons for you, for your person, how you both trigger each other, how those triggers play out, and really the karmic theme, but most importantly, how to integrate that karmic theme. See, karma means learn. So there's many different perceptions of a situation, many different ways to handle a situation. Your level of perception is going to be the way that you go about dealing with the situation. So, karmically, you have an opportunity to actually get what you want if you're presented in a situation with a soulmate. Now, a lot of times, once we learn the lesson, we don't even want that person anymore. It's just, again, the karmic connection, we became stuck. Hey, Wendy, I'm so glad that you're on. I was just in the channel, and you know how I lose myself. So I'm very happy that you're here. Now, if you're new to this channel, do me a favor. If you resonate with the video, give me a like, a comment, and there's always a word of the day. The word of the day comes from my Psychic Soul Healer Oracle deck. This deck is made for healing the shadow aspects of ourself, which means learning the soul lessons that we need to learn, really, pretty much. Because what happens is that when we go through an experience that we don't like, that keeps us in a place of disempowerment. And I remember that for you, Wendy. Again, when you went through that experience with that relationship, it kept you stuck in a place of fear. Like, why did that happen? And so now I I almost feel like bonded to a person that isn't treating me nice. And that happens a lot of times because it's how much you invest into a situation. So a lot of times we say, I don't know even know if I like that person anymore. It's almost like a habit. And because your mind, the reptilian mind, needs to be emotionally satisfied. Your emotional health is just as important as your physical health. That's why our spiritual blocks are not just made up of thought energy, but also emotional energy. Held in the body as stress is what becomes our energy vibration, is what actually makes you a magnet of who and what comes into your life, which again play out as these karmic lessons. So, again, when we don't learn lessons, that is really what is keeping us stuck. So, we're like, I feel like I can't move forward from this relationship, or I still feel bonded to this situation. Part of that is because the mind is all about survival and it sees even a dysfunctional relationship better than no relationship if we aren't strong within ourselves, that is. Now, the word that you would need to write in your comment bar is needy. How appropriate. Why I say that is codependence. We say what keeps people bonded to people. And so you may say, well, I don't get shit from this person. And so, yes, that's usually the karmic theme that plays out, which is, yeah, I didn't get emotionally anything, and now I'm still not emotionally getting with this relationship. I always feel like I fall short. And so, again, we have to do it for ourselves. Otherwise, we'll continue to repeat the lesson. You got to become what you want. It's the energy, it's how we heal, that's how we integrate, that's how we reparent a childhood wound. What is top off? I don't understand what top off means. I don't know what that means, Clara. So, anyway, so you would have to write that word in your comment bar. Um, retracted. I guess maybe it was rude comment. I don't know. Okay. So, I always feel like if a reading opens up with that word of the day, then again, it's going to be tied into the reading somehow. But I'm saying when there's shadows, if a person feels needy, it's because there's a part of them that A, doesn't know who they are, and B, is viewing who they are from a very dis distorted perception. And that's one that's keeping them stuck to a place of limitation. Why? Because energy, we can't just get rid of energy. We have to integrate that energy. We have to transmute that energy. And that's through passion, that's through raising our vibration. And that only means by recreating a new perception of yourself. Because a lot of times, if we're bonded to a person codependently, it's because we're looking for that element. And that whatever we're attracted to represents that. And we are also connected and bonded to a trauma of childhood. So that is just an energy, like I said, that I felt somebody needed to hear. Now, like I said, I always still like to look and see what's going on. What is this? How does Spirit want to open up the reading before we look at all the heavy stuff? And the heavy stuff would be, again, the inner child wounds. It would be also the shadow before we see how they play out in the karmic lessons, right? Because you can't heal what you don't know consciously. You may know it, but you're like, a lot of times our own trauma, there's a sense that we emotionally have detached from, so we don't really understand it as much because in order to deal with it. Now, why I let myself go deeper into thoughts of you, I can feel my heart opening. So again, somebody, I'm feeling that you're in separation with someone, to be honest with you. And just because of all the opening cards, and that they're thinking a lot of you, and because they can't control what they feel. They're a very logical person. They're logical because they don't like to feel. So this person may come across as if they don't care. They may actually ignore you. They're not emotionally intelligent. And so then what happens is that, how do we know that we love a person? We know that we love a person when we can't control what we feel. That person annoys us, pisses us off, but we're still thinking of them. And I'm feeling like I said, this person didn't really want to have feelings towards you. When I look into your eyes, I see the universe and it activates me. Now you may say, well, this person isn't even around me. I'm feeling like this person like looks at your pictures online. I know that that sounds a little bit creepy, but understand, if a person is not emotionally intelligent, they're not going to be able to express the way that they feel. They're going to hide. And they're also going to overcompensate in the way that they act, where you'll be like, well, what do you mean? That, well, they either give you no emotion, or they give too much emotion because they don't feel strong within themselves. So like I said, I feel like you're very spiritual, or they feel that spiritual connection. I love that there is a spiritual connection. Let's face it, it transcends time and space. When we have no control over how we feel, this is also a past life karmic mate. Now, does that mean horrible? No, what it means is definitely a lesson that you didn't learn in past life. However, so they're a significant person. As you surrender your 3T expectations, I surrender to our 5T connection. So again, that's what I was saying. Like, you're very spiritual and they're very, like, again, of the physical realm. So you have to understand, spirit always brings us people that are opposite to us, because we're learning about what unconditional love is. That's the highest vibration of all. No expectations, no ownership. It's just what is. And and that's the energy we're actually made of. That's the energy of the universe. The laws of God, the laws of love, the laws of nature. Again, that's the energy that's within inside of you. However, we all have blocks, and their blocks are either in the spiritual realm or in the physical realm. Now, if they're in the spiritual realm, they're going to be in the emotional realm. So, like I said, this person has problems expressing themselves. They don't feel, they're not confident. So they will overcompensate in the way that they act. So that's why they're like, oh, well, on your 3D, because you're again connected to this person spiritually, and spiritually is all about love. And so you're like, I recognize this. There's a soul connection. So on some level, they're like, oh, you probably think that I'm like this great person, and or that but they don't feel good about themselves, right? When a person has wounds and they can't express themselves, they're not going to have good relationships. So then they're like, oh, now everything, they're judging every little thing. And meanwhile, you're like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just being nice to you. But they're like, but I feel a strong connection too. And I've never had this strong connection. Well, it has to mean something. They automatically go up in their head. That's how you know that the person has a spiritual block. When we're relaxed, we're not up in our head thinking about what we're going to do, what we're going to say, how we're saying it, how we're being perceived. When a person has a block, this is what it is. The mind gets in the way, chatter. And the survival mind, the reptilian mind, only cares about that. So you're not going to see anything, but you want to know why they're acting the way that they're acting. like, oh yeah, well, I feel that there is a connection, and it terrifies me. That's why I have to look at you online, right? So I'm struggling with codependency. I'm afraid to let go of my old coping mechanisms. And that's why then that's how your reading started. It was like I said about codependency, that sometimes people are stuck to and bonded to people and to things and to just habits that really are no longer serving them, but they think the codependency is, I think I need that. So people that are codependent, a lot of times you'll see alcoholism, you'll see addictions, you'll see other things that are in balance, which is actually what is making that person feel the way that they do, because they feel that they need that. So, and that's because they don't feel comfortable just with themselves. A lot of people have this issue, but let's look and see why. Because I know that you want to know, well, what does this person is are they going to do? I like to look at what they're going to do after, because I like to understand why they're doing what they're doing. Why? Because if we're dealing with someone that is a spiritual block and you have a spiritual block, you want to know how that plays out so that you can better plan. And because when we're present to what it is that we're doing, that's the first step, awareness, right? Then we can integrate the spiritual block to get a different outcome. Because if this person really is a soulmate, then on some level, you have to do certain things that are healing for you if you're connected to this person to get what you want, to quantum jump into the reality that you want. Because you're like, well, what the hell? This person comes into my life just to fuck me up? No, karma means learn. So, hey, you do something different, you get a different outcome. It's, again, your level of perception. If you come from a place of fear where you have a block, well, like I said earlier, just before, you're not going to be able to focus on what's happening now in the present. So, having awareness is huge. All right. So, what did I say we were going to do? Okay, we're going to look at the inner child wounds between you and this person. Feel free to ask me a question. I'll eventually get to it. Imagination. See, I like this card. And the reason why is because you see the little third eye. So, again, imagination, that's what I was saying, the spiritual realm. So, not all the time do we get wounds. Sometimes, for whatever reason, we get our gifts come from the inner child. So a lot of times the child that survived thrives, and they thrive through, again, the fact that they escaped, and they escaped through understanding that there was a whole life inside. So you, again, I felt like it was someone that was very spiritual, and someone that was emotionally intelligent, someone that was very understanding. So it could be talking to someone that wants to be a spiritualist, someone that wants to be a healer, someone that wants to be a therapist, any type of service. Again, that there's a deep empathy, but and also having abilities. However, that would mean that you have spiritual blocks in the physical realm, where maybe trying to figure out what you want to do to make money and thriving. And because having a lot of spiritual energies. Now, does that mean that you can't make any money? No, I'm sure some of you guys do. But however, if you are in the physical form, you're here to learn. And part of learning is the fact that we all have spiritual blocks. They're either in more in the spiritual realm or more in the physical realm. So right here, it's like, and why do we need to know that? Because you're getting your soulmate or this person into your life spiritually, because you are also supposed to teach them. It's not just a one-sided thing where this person's coming into your life and you're just learning, or you just got screwed over, or whatever it is. But understand, less imagination could, again, the imagination realm is, you would have expectations. You would expect this person and if you didn't get what you needed growing up, they might not be as emotionally like be able to give you what you needed. Now let's see for them. Truth. So Ken, this boy looks very. I don't know what he learned from me. He's not. That's what I mean. Like they don't care. People act like they don't give a shit when they have blocks. It's like the person that you're dating. You're like, okay, I'm dating this person, and all they do is give me a like on Facebook. It's like I barely get a like. Sometimes I don't even get that. And then you see a lot of times they can act and it's the smallest thing. It's an overcompensation of I can't express anything. I'm going to show you no emotion because on some level I was taught that emotions were bad. Emotions made me feel weak. Emotions, so it's not a real belief. It's just sometimes, even if we're born sensitive, we're a girl and we're sensitive. Oh, big girls don't cry. Grow up. Stop being so sensitive. So we're taught. And so it's not a blame game, but we have to understand where these blocks come from. So this person looks for all truth, fact, fact, fact. So there's someone that strategizes. Truth is all about, again, there's no emotion in truth. Think of the courtroom. When someone comes in and says, well, I felt, it doesn't matter what you feel. Just the facts, man, just the facts. And that's so without that, there's almost like a lack of heart. And that's so then you might even have triggers then, because now on a spiritual level, the person doesn't feel comfortable expressing themselves. And you're all about that because the third eye right here and imagination is someone that's playful, soulful, creative, but then they also don't want to be the entertainment center for this person that is always looking for there to be a problem because more reptilian mind opposed from heart based. And it's not a blame. I'm saying it's like they are going to be stronger with the earth elements. And if we break it down, they're fire, where you are more air, imagination, creativity, and water. So again, the passion for life. And those elements are important to work together. So we see why spirit would have you as soulmate. But we have to say, okay, like I understand that they're there, but then they don't show me any feeling. So then we look at the actual shadow. What are we dealing with? Queen of my world. This goes back to I believe, again, imagination. So more you. If it was them, it would be all about their world, just being in their world. But their world is wounded. Remember, they're not allowed to express themselves. They don't feel comfortable. They overcompensate. They look for everything from a logical perspective, which is good. But when you're dealing with relationships, it's going to come across very cold. Hey, water bearer. Good to see you here. Hiding your true self. So, like I said, this person hides their true self. So we were looking at the shadows and dealing with shadows and seeing how they play out within a relationship. And so a lot of times when a person comes from their logical mind, they're coming from their survival mind. When they're dealing with relationship, they're afraid to let people get close. However, if you're someone that didn't emotionally get what you needed and you went inward, again, holding the queen of your world means living in your own world, and imagination is also that, which is where your psychic abilities come from, is where your creativity comes from. However, that would mean that emotionally you would need someone to give you more, because this is, otherwise it makes you go inward more. You want someone to bring you out and make you feel comfortable. So there's already two different approaches. And like I said, this person isn't even comfortable to express themselves, because I feel like they're looking at you through like social media, spying on you, very strategic, people that don't feel comfortable in themselves. And I just say that because, like I said, it helps you to not take responsibility for how a person feels, and also to realize that you don't know why they're acting the way that they are. But helping you understand allows you to release and let go and heal. And it also lets you not take things, like you said, personally. Because a wound, a lot of times our wounds are created not just from being in relationships where we perceive that the person didn't care at all, or that the person, we take it like as if we did something, or that we need to be a certain way. They made us feel a certain way, and no one should be able to make us feel a certain way. But it happens, and it happens because we give too much time and energy, and just the time of thinking of that person is a lot. That is how much you give, is the bigger the, as is the big, the size of the wound is what I'm trying to get at. All right. Now the shadow is too intense. So this person feels like you're very intense, which happens a lot of times when you are psychic, and when you're sensitive, and when you're deep, and when you want that intimacy and you want that. It's not that you're that way. And hypnotized, you allow yourself to be under someone's spell. So this person also feels like they have no control over you when they do, because you are that deep. You make them think about things that they would normally not think about. And that's scary. This person likes to be a little bit on the surface, but not because they really want to be that way. But if they were taught that their emotions were bad, well, then I'm not going to really want to get that deep, because if I know about you, I'm going to grow a bond towards you, then I'm not going to feel safe. And I feel hypnotized, but love will do that, because it's like you want to be there. There's part that you do get lost in that person, especially if they're deep. They're making you go deep within yourself, and that grows a real strong bond. Dark side, you are tempted to engage in destructive behavior. And I believe that the destructive behavior would be connecting to somebody that, for them, it's destructive behavior to avoid being in a relationship. So you may say, well, why this person doesn't give? Well, I feel like that they dabble in either drinking too much, or like doing things to, not feel. And for you, the tempted is because we do have a connection. I do have feelings for this person. This person is my soul person. I wouldn't have chosen this person never. Like, because, like I said, they don't approach life the way that I do. This is the story here. However, I have no control. And what I see is wounds, and I see issues, and so, but love, it teaches us that we have no control. So you may have to learn unconditional love. You may have to learn the lesson of um, boundaries, of being strong. Because when you're with a person that has a lot of wounds, that tries to avoid their feelings, it also means that they're not really mature. So we have to look at their triggers, and we've reached that part. And I hate to have to make you look at the triggers, but the triggers are going to help us understand why certain things play out, what your person is going to do, what you're going to do. Okay, past lover. The display of affection you have towards your former partner triggers my insecurity. So this person again acts like they care about other people. And I don't feel like your person was that emotionally connected to that person when they were with them. It's almost like you don't know what you got till it's gone. And also because now you're not in my life, I feel comfortable to express how I feel. And part of me feels guilty over how I treated you. I feel that the whole time they were in a relationship, they acted like they didn't want to be in that relationship. And so the person that they were connected to put in a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort. And now that the relationship is like not there anymore, like because they're free, there's a sense of, well, now I can be friends with you. So we have to see why, again, the detachment, why that happens. So this is, but no one should be able to make you feel insecure. So understand you're connected to somebody that emotionally can't give you, and they could never give anyone. The perception is that they give more to this person. It's not that. It's the fact that they feel guilty. It's the fact that I no longer, you don't want to be with me anymore. So it's safe for me to let my guard down. But that person that they were married to does, or together with, or connected to, hates that person at this point, or doesn't hate them, but doesn't trust them. And because they went through the same thing, but years of it. No one wants that. So, I mean, your person's not going to just become somebody else. They have to be taught. Abandonment issues. So, again, if you have abandonment issues, it's going to be really hard for you to do. This person has abandonment issues. That's why they do it. So, we see the karmic lesson and why you both are again a past life soulmate that has not learned the lesson, and the lesson was abandonment. So if you're again being like, oh, this person gives so much, it's like I'm afraid to give to them because they're just going to leave me. So again, the wavering in and out of your life, and that's, you saw that this is how they also treated the last person, that's the way that they are. So, and that's why that you would be like, you're tempted to be with them because you know how they are, but you can't control how you feel. And then you say, well, why do I even have this person coming into my life? Why would I do that? Well, to heal your abandonment issues. You say, why? From them leaving me? No. It's for obviously to have it play out differently, which we'll get to at the third part, because we're going to see how it plays out in this story, but then really how to integrate the spiritual lesson, because no one wants to leave it like that shit. We want to know, like, well, that's going to happen. I want to know what I need to do to quantum jump into a better reality. Trust. I feel very uneasy in this connection because I can no longer trust you. So there's like trust issues because of what you've seen. And they also have trust issues, I feel like, because a lot of times when we don't heal certain wounds, we tend to project those wounds onto others. And especially when we're fearful, person like you're connected to is not comfortable in dating. They shouldn't really even be dating because they never heal themselves. They just, try to think that, well, that relationship's over, but that's not, you can't do that. I'm going to pull one more. So understand that you would then also get trust issues. And you say, well, when the relationship ends, being in a relationship with someone like this is going to give you trust issues, where you begin to look for it in every single relationship instead of actually enjoying the relationship, being triggered. And so, you don't want to, you want to break that karmic cycle. Bluff. Calling your bluff was the most satisfying thing I've done. So maybe for some of you, you guys have called their bluff, or I'm feeling you need to call their bluff. Um, because when you call a person's bluff, when they're playing all these games, because it's not that they don't have feelings to you, it's not that they don't want to feel the depth of the connection, because it makes them have to look at themselves, and they've cut themselves off from a lot of feeling. So when you call their bluff, it leaves them holding that remorse, and I'm feeling like you're going to see that remorse. Now, there's always a process too. So, dealing with someone, you might see anger at first, but because, like, denial, people tend to, that are not wounded, it's not that they volunteer to look at a shadow. The karmic experience plays out. It's almost like the audacity. Like, because it's like you're looking and there's projection. But love always wins, unconditional love. It's like, well, I still have feelings. Why do I feel still bonded and connected to this person, which is what I keep seeing, because it's like, well, there's wounds here, and there's two different approaches to life, and different strengths, and soulmates have different strengths. They teach. So let's see. Again, you called their bluff, and let's see. I feel unhealthy habits and behaviors. And that's what I was saying, like, again, addiction, like doing things to escape. When we have shadows and we need healing, and we're not a spiritual person, and this person that you're connected to is not spiritual, like I said, they're very logical. They're probably very good in business, but they in order to deal with their emotions, they detach. How do you think a person detaches? Addictions, dealing with stress. Okay, and then obstacles. So I believe that they also tend to get in their own way. So we'll see people that do have feelings, but if I'm not willing to feel, then I'm going to again come from a very logical way, which is going to trigger the majority. You can't, if you're in a relationship, just deal with people with ice cold logic. You have to actually be open and not be afraid of intimacy. Relationships are all about trust. This person has nothing but trust issues. So they're trying to be in a relationship without feeling, and in order to deal with it, they have unhealthy habits, but it's also they tend to, like, get in their own way. It's a form of self-sabotage. Okay, I can't stand the thought of you with someone else. So again, they're realizing that they still have feelings. That's a big deal, because, like I said, we see whether or not this person can even heal, and, like, is the universe using you as a vehicle to pull the wound out of your person, this soul mate, in order for you to, like, I mean, that's what soulmates do. They don't just trigger, but they, pull the wound out in order for us to look at them so we can integrate them. Otherwise, you can't integrate. You can't do anything different. You're not going to ask yourself the right questions and do the right things. And so the opposite, until your person does that, they will, like, continue to have obstacles, right? Self-sabotaging behaviorism, it's obstacles. Everything comes before the importance. And so, but really what makes it is, I can't stand the thought of you being with someone else. It's they can't turn it on and off, and which they can with their emotions, but with you, they don't like the depth, and they're realizing, well, it used to be I could avoid it, but now I can't even do that, because in separation I'm still thinking about you. So I wish I could give you more. So this person again doesn't feel like they're enough. They feel like they don't have enough. So we see, well, why is it too that they can't show emotions, but they could still at least be in my life? Well, they're not coming from a place like they feel as if they're enough. They feel as if they have to give. So on some level, again, they were taught don't express emotion, but give. It's like their love language is giving, but it's mainly not really because that's their love language. It's that was taught because they weren't allowed to express themselves. And now if they don't have a lot because they're in between jobs or again just struggling financially, then they're not going to come in and offer anything because they're going to feel as if, well, you're not going to want to be with me because you would only want to be with me for that, even though that's not, again, that's their perception. That's how we know that they're not ready, and they aren't because of this block. Now, will they be ready? I mean, what's their hidden truth? Let's just look and see what their hidden truths are, and let's see what the healing is that they need to do. Because just because they're not ready doesn't mean that they don't have feelings, but understand feelings is not enough. That's when they say love is not enough. Love is enough because it makes us do things that we wouldn't normally do. That's why I said, is this person? And what this person is that they're looking at themselves, they're evaluating their life. And they're saying, I don't want you to be with anyone else, and I'm terrified that you would be with someone else. But then I got to come in the right way. I got to come in with something, and I don't have enough. And so that's what that looked like to me. But they're wounded, so they might not ever feel like they have enough. And that's the thing. I wish I could share my good news with you. See, they don't realize that relationships are something that happen over time. Trust is something that happens over time. They don't realize that in order for trust, you have to be able to feel. So I feel like your person has a lot of issues around relationships, not just love life, but possibly a lot of betrayal in the family. If we're taught this at a young age, then we're approaching every relationship like this. And that becomes a karmic theme that plays out within a person's life, that they are actually making that happen in the beginning because they're never giving someone a chance. So you can't pretend to give someone a chance and then renege, then obviously, or come close or come in and out and not think you're going to create trust issues. But they're doing it to protect themselves. And that helps us because we realize that they have an issue, but then we want to know what we could do to help them. But right now they're missing you and they're thinking about you, and that's important. So we say, well, it's again, even though they have this block, I wish I could take back my words. So again, I just feel like they acted like they didn't really care. They, gave very little. Remember, person that they overcompensated. So they're in regret. They're realizing that they want this. They're realizing about their life. So this is all good. So healing's a process. And what this is showing is they're going through the process. Now, whether or not you're going to want to deal with it is a whole other card spread, because some of you are going to be yes, some of you are going to be no. So we have to say, well, then what am I supposed to do? First of all, like, what does the universe say that I should do? And what can I do to create balance? Because if I like this person, they have wounds, and and what am I supposed to do? Because I don't want to get hurt, but what this should be teaching you is that if you have emotional, like, didn't feel like you got emotionally enough, and this person doesn't give emotions and they come back, that's a big deal. It's that was them showing emotion because they're going to have to express to you. Now for you, You may have to again learn that on an emotional level you had to be strong, that that person wasn't there for you, but you never really needed it. See, like it got you through because that bond is still there. See, a lot of times where spirit is saying emotionally, you don't need this person to give you. It's nice if they do, but you had to learn how to give it to yourself. You had to reparent that inner child wound. And you do so through giving it to yourself, where this person needed to come into your life and be like, hey, I'm sorry. Hey, I want to be in your life. Otherwise, it would never get integrated. There would never be any change. And and understand that it may be very uncomfortable for them to do this. And it may be a karmic pattern that happens a few times within your relationship. But it's teaching them to surrender to love, and in order to do that, we a lot of times we have to do things that make us not feel that comfortable. We have to go back into a situation, and that's what this is really teaching us. But we're also going to say, okay, well, let's see, what does spirit tell us to do? How do we deal with this? Freedom. And now I find that, like, when I think of freedom, I'm thinking like a solo. Like, and spirit says exactly. No ownership, no expectation. The person has feelings, but they're terrified of relationships. You emotionally feel like you don't have enough. You need to get that. That's so important for you. They need to do certain things to fulfill your criteria because you didn't have that before, or that's your expectation. But this is not that. It's like I'm teaching you that unconditional love is that you don't have control over. So the relationship is going to be uncomfortable for you and for this person, because you go about, like, your approach to love is different, and mainly due to your wounds. Your wounds have dictated what is important. And then what happens is you're overcompensating, meaning I need for you to do this. I need for you to do this, in order for me to feel emotionally fulfilled. And you don't never do it. You emotionally can't. And that could be just when I post something on Facebook, like it shows some interest, or like you show interest to random people more than you show interest to me. Like you need to, that person will do it in their time, but they have a natural unfoldment process. They have to feel safe. Intimacy is built on trust. This person has trust issues. You want to know why they acted the way that they did. So understand, you're like, well, I have trust issues, and that means that I have to be with someone that doesn't show feelings. And spirit saying, no, because over time they'll do. It's like, it's not like, oh well, 10 years later they're going to give you more emotionally. They will give more emotionally as time goes on, and that will be from week to week, day to day, hour to hour, seeing that you're not judging them for the way that they are, that they can just be themselves, because they feel inadequate. And they feel inadequate because they were not allowed to show emotions, and they tend to deal with people very strategically and from a very ego and surface place. And that is not good. So, what's your thoughts on using excrement as a spread onto? That's disgusting. So like so understand, like that's what it is. It's like freedom. You have to like give that person freedom. And that's not, like I said, the most easiest thing to do. Now let's just look and see if there's any other spiritual stuff before we wind it down. I'm beginning to focus on my mission, and our connection is part of that. So they see that there's a bigger connection to this, because again, they're very logical, linear. I feel like they're very business oriented, and that's why for them dealing with you not just from an emotional standpoint with relationship, they would think of it like, well, I see that you're very business, so for you, you may be very business oriented. Yes, because I just finished with my stream. So ask away, Carol. Think it's a cool hobby. Whatever you're into.